to each one of the viewers in this channel, Holistic Health with Dr. Dev. Now, today in this live session, I will be chanting and discussing, as the title says, Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, which is the 16th chapter of 18 chapters in total. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, if you are not familiar with it, just for those who are not familiar with the text Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, it's one of the most authentic and root texts in the science of yoga. So the background is in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where initially Arjuna doesn't want to fight. Bhagavan Shri Krishna comes up with the teachings of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, and there is a discourse between Arjuna and Shri Krishna, where Arjuna asks the questions which represents the questions of the common human beings in this material world, and Sri Bhagavan responds to the questions which are compiled in the text Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. There are 700 shlokas popularly known in Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, which are divided into 18 chapters. Now, today I will be discussing in this particular live Shrimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, which is called Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. Now, Daivasura, it's a combination of two words, Daiva and Asura. Daiva means divine or related to the celestial beings, the gods, the dharmic people, the people who live, who represent the life of ideal human beings, Daiva, of Sattvic life. And Asura means demonic, the demons, the people who represent the demonic characters, right? So Daivasura Sampad Vibhag Yog. Vibhag means the discrimination, the segments of these two kinds of lifestyle. One is Daiva and one is Asuric, or that related to the Asuras. Now, in this chapter, there are 24 shlokas or 24 verses. Now, I will first give a quick overview of what these verses are. Okay? Meaning what these verses relate to. What are the teachings in these verses? A quick summary. And after that, I will chant the shlokas, the verses one by one in the Anushtup meter, which is a meter that I will very briefly talk about in a bit. And then I will also discuss the meaning very briefly after each and every verse. All right. So please stay with me. It will be a very well paced session, and I hope that you stay present from this moment until the very end of this session. I do not know exactly how much time, but once we get into the discussion, once we get into the chanting and the discuss of what does it mean to have the Daiva qualities or celestial beings qualities or dharmic people's qualities, and what does it mean to have demonic qualities or Asura qualities. Once we get into the discussion, we will get to see it only gets more and more interesting. Okay, so first, a summary of what this chapter entails. So the first verses, the first one up to the third verses, they represent the enumeration of sattvic traits which are conducive to spiritual progress. That's verses 1 up to 3. Then verse 4 particularly talks about enumeration of rajasic and tamasic traits which obstruct spiritual progress. Now you might think that what is this sattvic, rajasic and tamasic business? I have a full detailed video on these three qualities that constitute anything and everything on this material world, including human mind and human qualities. Every material, every object in this transactional world, material world, has these three qualities: sattva, rajas, and tamas. You can think of, very briefly speaking, sattva qualities are the qualities of harmony, peace, tranquility, balance, and all of that. Rajas is the quality of what? Rajas is the quality of passion, aggression, when it gets aggravated, anger, um, then frustration, irritation, envy, jealousy, rajasic, and tamasic. Tamasic is the energy of lethargy, the quality of lethargy, sluggishness, stagnation, and all of that. So, number fourth verse in this 16th chapter talks about enumeration of rajasic and tamasic traits which obstruct spiritual progress. Then, verse 5 talks about effect of Daivi and Asuri Sampat. Sampat in general means the wealth, right, or possessions, and Bhagavan's assurance to Arjuna that he possesses Daivi Sampat means the characters, the wealth, the properties of Daiva or divine celestial being. That is verse 5. Okay. Then verses 6 up to 18, it talks about the detailed description of the nature and actions of people possessing Asuri Sampat. Means what are the qualities of people who have asuric qualities or demonic qualities? How would you know? How would you recognize? Even within ourselves, not everybody has all daiva qualities, not everybody has all asuric qualities. But if one is in the path of spiritual progress, then a very valid question is, how would we know that whether we are on the path of asura or daiva? So detailed description of the nature and actions of people possessing the Asuri Sampat. That is verses 16 up to 18. Then verses 19 and 20, that talk about Asuri Sampat leads a person astray, causing spiritual destruction ultimately. That confirms verses 19 and 20. Then 22, verse number 22 talks about attainment of liberation by avoiding the Asuri traits. Attainment of liberation by avoiding the Asuri traits. How one can do that, how to avoid. That's the most important thing, right? What is the way out of navigating, circumventing the Asuri traits? That's verse 22. Then verses 23 and 24, the last two verses of chapter 16, talks about Shastra is the pramana, means authoritative text. Those are the Shastras, the scriptures. Shastra is the pramana in determining what is right and wrong. One might ask, how would we know which definition of asura and which definition of daiva are the right ones? Because I might think this quality I am talking about is daivic, means of celestial beings, of dharmic people. You might think, no, this is of the asura people, this is asuri. So how would we know that what qualities are daiva and what are asuric? Well, we will get to know from the Shastras, from the scriptures. Verses 23 and 24 talk about that. So, this is an overview of this chapter 16, what is coming up in this chapter. And now, if we are ready, we will begin the chanting of the verses one by one. Please be present until the end because these verses will be linked one after the other. So if we miss one, then we will be having some difficulty in catching the meaning in the next verse. So please stay present. And before we begin the chant, just like we do in all of our chanting sessions, we prepare ourselves. How do we prepare ourselves? We prepare ourselves by preparing our breathing and our posture. In chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, in chapter 6, the yoga of meditation, Bhagavan very specifically talks about the posture, how one should sit and everything. I am not discussing in detail about that, but just let me tell you this: our spine, head, and neck should be aligned in one vertical line in a very comfortable position, and you have a comfortable breathing, and the breathing is not fast paced, it's very relaxed, composed, and comfortable. Okay, whatever is going on in our minds, we don't fight against it, we just accept it, what's going on, and we let go of the thoughts like the clouds to float away. Because trust me, as Bhagavan also says, it's the nature of the mind to wander around. So if our minds are wandering around while in the discussion, it's okay. We don't need to beat ourselves up that, oh my gosh, I am all scattered. Accept it, acknowledge it, but we don't engage with it. We don't engage with our monkey mind if during the chanting our mind wanders off. It's a very, very important chapter I'm going to discuss here. And you might understand why did I choose chapter 16 all of a sudden. I could have started from chapter 1 or things like that, because chapter 16, well, every single verse of 700 verses relate to our daily life, but chapter 16 specifically talks about, and we can relate very much to the teachings of chapter 16, because it talks about the demonic and the celestial beings, the Daiva qualities and the Asuri qualities. And how would we know? How would we decipher and catch ourselves? What qualities are we possessing? And all of that. Okay? So that's why I chose this chapter for chanting and discussion. So, having said that, let's focus on our breathing. And we can sit in a comfortably vertical position, spinal column, head and neck all in an erect position, bringing your attention to your breathing. So, slow, smooth, long inhale. Pause at the top of the inhale, and then gradually start exhaling. Okay, gradually start exhaling. Release and exhale completely the air out. Pause for a fraction of a second, and then again inhale, deep, long, smooth inhale. Belly goes out. Pause at the peak, and then exhale. The exhalation should be longer than the inhalations if possible. Towards the spine as we exhale. Pause after the exhale is complete one time. Let's all together, however many people are watching this, together let's all inhale all the way up. Pause at the peak. Exhale. Belly comes towards the spine. Right? And then what we will do is we will do 3 counts of inhalation and exhalation. During the exhalation, we will do 3 counts of ohms, meaning 3 repetitions of ohm during our exhalation in the next 3 exhales. Deep, long, smooth, all the way up. Pause at the peak. Exhale. Two more times. Inhaling. Pause at the peak. Exhale. Last time. Inhaling, deep, long, smooth inhale. All the way up. Pause at the peak. Exhale. Now, whoever is joining in, we will about to begin our chanting of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, Daiva Sura Sampad Vibhag Yoga. And I just want to briefly mention this meter. This meter is Anushtup meter. What is Anushtup meter? Anushtup meter is the meter of 32 syllables divided into 4 segments: 8, 8, 8, 8. So you will see every single element, every single segment of each verse of these 24 verses, they will be chanted in segments of 8. Just like the very first verse, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre 8. Samaveta Yoyotsavaha 8. Mamakaf Pandavaschaiva 8. Kimakurvata Sanjaya 8. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yoyotsavaha Mamakaf Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Very first verse of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. So this is Anushtup Chanda example. 8 syllables times 4, 32 syllables in each verse. Alright. So I would say out of 700 verses, about 650 are in this meter. Around the rest 50 are in Trishtup meter, which is 11 syllables times 4, 44 syllables. Okay. So in this chapter, which is chapter 16, we do not have any Trishtup meter. We have all of these verses in Anushtup meter. Okay. So 8 times 4. 8 times 4. So now we will begin the chanting of chapter 16. Those of you who are joining in later on, I welcome you all to this channel, to this session and discussion of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. Okay. The classification of the divine and non-divine attributes. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhihi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi Danandamascha Yajnascha Swadhyayastapa Arjavam. I will chant each verse twice. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhihi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi Danandamascha Yajnascha Swadhyayastapa Arjavam. Before I go to the meaning of these verses and chanting further, I want to let you know, if you are wondering about the lyrics of this chapter, or as a matter of fact, the whole of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, see, there are plenty of sources where you can get the lyrics in both Devanagari and in English transliteration and in other languages of your choice. But for reference, I will post some links, at least in Devanagari and for in English transliteration, in the description. After this video is posted in my channel, I will post some of the links, couple links in the description below. Okay. So please don't worry about the finding the lyrics. You will get many freely available resources in the website. For now, just focus on the discussion, focus on this discourse and the chanting. Let the chanting sink in and give you a sound bath experience, and just focus on the discourse that we are discussing. So the blessed Lord said, fearlessness, purity of heart, steadfastness in knowledge, means sticking, the resilience, the property of resilience of sticking to something in knowledge and yoga. Alms giving means charity or donations, control of the senses. Yajna, reading of the Shastras, austerity, uprightness. Up to this. The blessed Lord said, fearlessness, purity of heart, steadfastness in knowledge and yoga, alms giving, control of the senses. What are the 5 senses? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the skin, the 5 sensory organs through which we interact with the outside world. We take the stimulus out from the outside world towards inside. Reading of the yajna, which is sacrificial ceremonies, reading of the Shastras, austerity, uprightness. Up to this part, okay? So, one more time. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Abhayam Sattva Sangshuddhihi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi Danandamascha Yajñascha Swadhyayastapa Arjavam. Moving to the next verse, verse number 2. Ahimsa satyamakrotha tyaga shantirapaishunam daya bhuteshvalo luptvam mardavam hrirachapalam. One more time. Ahimsa satyamakrotha tyaga shantirapaishunam daya bhuteshvalo luptvam mardavam hrirachapalam. What does it mean? The meaning is non-injury or non-violence, ahimsa, truth, satyam, absence of anger, akrodha, renunciation, tyag, tranquility, shanti, absence of calumny or apaishunam, compassion to beings, daya, uncovetousness, ungreediness, that is loluptvam, right? Aloluptvam. Then gentleness. Gentleness is, of course, gentleness. Then modesty, absence of fickleness. Fickleness means when our body is moving, like we cannot sit in one position for a long time. Remember what is the definition of yoga? Sthira sukham asanam, not the definition of yoga, the definition of asana. Sthira sukham asanam means whatever is sthira means steady, and sukham means whatever is easeful. That is asana, the definition by Maharshi Patanjali. So when I said absence of fickleness means not moving around too much in the body mind system. Okay, fickle means what changes very quickly, very rapidly, which is vata aggravated. The energy of vata is aggravated there. It's the fickle energy. So it continues. These are the qualities. He lists the qualities. Okay, then we move on to the next verse, which is verse number 3 of chapter 16. Tejaha abhijatasya bharata tejah kshamadritishaucham adroho nati manita bhavanti sampadan daivim abhijatasya bharata. Verse number 3. What does it mean? Boldness, forgiveness, fortitude, purity, absence of hatred, absence of pride. These belong to one born for a divine state. O descendant of Bharata. The descendant of Bharata is called Bharata. The descendant of Bharata is called Bharata. Here in this case, Bhagavan is addressing Arjuna as Bharata. So, he listed in the first 3 verses the qualities of divine beings, or the sattvic qualities. Alright? So, we move on to verse number 4. Dambho darpobhimanascha krodhah parushyameva cha ajnananchaabhijatasya partha sampadasurim. Dambho darpobhimanascha krodhah parushyameva cha ajnananchaabhijatasya चाभिजातस्य पार्थ सम्पदमासुरीम्. What does it mean? The fourth verse. We are moving from the sattvic qualities to rajasic qualities. Look at this. Ostentation, dambho means also pride, false pride, or um, quality of showing off, right? Running after pride. Arrogance, darpa. Self conceit, abhiman is thinking oneself to be very big, why one was not treated in the way they were expecting, and all that. Self conceit. Anger, as also harshness and ignorance, belong to one who is born, O Partha, for an asurika state. Asurika state. Whoever has an asurika state, they have these kind of qualities: ostentation, arrogance, and self conceit. Anger, as also harshness and ignorance, belong to one who is born, O Partha. Partha is another name that Shri Krishna is addressing Arjuna with, for an asurika state. Okay? Asurika means demonic. Demonic. Okay? Moving to verse number 5. Daive sampadvimokshaya nibandhaya suremata mashuchas sampadan daivim abhijatosi pandava. Daive sampadvimokshaya nibandhaya suremata mashuchas sampadan daivim abhijatosi pandava. So this was verse 5. What does it mean? The divine state is deemed to make for liberation, the asurika for bondage. Grieve not, O Pandava, thou art born for a divine state. Very important. So first, Bhagavan Shri Krishna talks about the qualities of the divine state and then an asurika state. Then he mentions that the divine state is deemed to make for liberation, means it propels one to the state of liberation, freedom from all sorts, freedom from the bondage of the mind, from the bondage of our own nature, from the bondage in our spiritual life, whatever it is. The divine state, it liberates us from these bondages, whereas the ashurika stage or states of being, they bounds us into all these limitations. Grieve not, O Pandava, O Arjuna. Again, another name for Arjuna. You see how many different names Bhagavan Shri Krishna is addressing Arjuna with. So, Pandava, grieve not, because you are born of a divine state. He confirms, Bhagavan confirms Arjuna that you are born of a divine state. Okay, so moving forward, verse number 6 now. Dvau bhuta sargo lokesmin Daiva asura eva cha Daivo vistarashah prokta Asuram partha me shrinu. Again. Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin Daiva asura eva cha Daivo vistarashah proktaha Asuram partha me shrinu. One more time. Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin Daiva asura eva cha Daivo vistarashah proktaha Asuram partha me shrinu. What does it mean? Verse number 6. There are two types of beings in this world, the divine and the asurika. Because see, this whole chapter name was like this: Daiva Sura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. The differentiation of two kinds of beings, Daiva and Asurik. So he is saying that Bhagavan Shri Krishna is saying in verse 6, there are two types of beings in this world, the divine and the asuric or demonic. The divine have been described at length. Hear from me, O Partha of the Asurika. Now listen to me from the Asurika qualities, Asurika people. So Bhagavan now even goes into depth of what are the Asurika qualities. Okay. Now we move forward to verse number 7. प्रवृत्तिञ्च निवृत्तिञ्च जनान विदुरासुराः न शौचन्नापि चाचारः न सत्यन्तेषु विद्यते प्रवृत्तिञ्च निवृत्तिञ्च जना न विदुरासुराः न शौचन्नापि चाचारः न सत्यन्तेषु विद्यते. Verse number 7, what does it mean? The persons of Asurika nature know not what to do and what to refrain from. Neither is purity found in them, nor good conduct, nor truth. So basically, in common sense, whatever you can think, that in common sense we can decide that that's good or that should be done or pursued, that should not be pursued. Meaning the differentiation between what is Shreya and what is not Shreya, means what is conducive for us, what is non conducive for us. So Bhagavan says that the persons of Asurika nature does not know. The persons of Asurika nature do not know what to do and what to refrain from. Neither is purity found in them, nor good conduct, nor truth. Okay? Now, moving forward, he continues. Verse 8. Asatyam pratishthante jagadahuranishwaram अपरस्परसम्भूतम् किमन्यत् कामहैतुकम् असत्यमप्रतिष्ठन्ते जगदाहुरनीश्वरम् अपरस्परसम्भूतम् किमन्यत् कामहैतुकम्. Now verse number 8 meaning, what is that? They say the universe is without truth, without a moral basis. Who are they? The demonic people. Without a God, brought about by mutual union, conjugation, with lust for its cause. So the cause of the generation of this world, the genesis of the beings, the generations, are guided by lust as its root cause. What else? What else? So without truth means as we are unreal, so this universe is unreal and the sacred scriptures that declare the truth are unreal. So basically they don't believe in the existence of the scriptures or authoritative texts. And what else means, but lust can be the cause of the universe. This is the view of Lokayatikas, the materialists, that this whole world, the genesis is because the lustful union of the male and the female. Okay, so that's verse number 8, the demonic qualities. Then moving forward, verse number 9. Etan drishtimavashtabhya nashtatmanolpabuddhayaha prabhavantyugrakarmanaha kshayaya jagato hitaha. Etan drishtimavashtabhya nashtatmanolpabuddhayaha prabhavantyugrakarmanaha kshayaya jagato hitaha. What does it mean? Verse number 9. Holding this view, these ruined souls of small intellect and fierce deeds rise as the enemies of the world for its destruction. As we have seen many stories from the Puranas and from the ancient scriptures, that there have been a group of people who wants to destroy, who wants to distract, and the other group of people who wants to build, construct, and all of that. So Bhagavan is saying that holding this view, which is the view of any divine beings, power, these people, these ruined souls of small intellect and fierce deeds, rise as the enemies of the world for its destruction. Okay, he continues, verse number 10. Kamamashritya dushpuram dambhamanamadaन्विताः मोहाद्गृहीत्वा सद्ग्राहान् प्रवर्तन्ते शुचिव्रता काममाश्रित्य दुष्पूरम् दम्भमानमदान्विताः मोहाद्गृहीत्वा सद्ग्राहान् प्रवर्तन्ते शुचिव्रताः. So verse number 10, the meaning is filled with insatiable desires, full of hypocrisy, pride, and arrogance, holding evil ideas through delusion, they work with impure resolve. Moving forward, verse number 11. Chintamaparimeyancha pralayantamupashritaah कामोपभोगपरमाः एतावदिति निश्चिताः चिन्तामपरिमेयाञ्च प्रलयान्तामुपाश्रिताः कामोपभोगपरमाः एतावदिति निश्चिताः. Verse number 11, the meaning is beset with immense cares ending only with death, regarding gratification of lust as the highest, and feeling sure that that is all. What do? Continuing. Asha pasha shatairvadhaah Asha pasha shatairvadhaah Kama क्रोधपरायणाः ईहन्ते कामभोगार्थम् अन्यायेनार्थसञ्चयान् आशापाशशतैर्बद्धाः कामक्रोधपरायणाः ईहन्ते कामभोगार्थम् अन्यायेनार्थसञ्चयान्. Verse number 12, the meaning is bound by 100 ties of hope, given over to lust and wrath. Wrath means immense anger, right? They strive to secure by unjust means hordes of wealth for sensual enjoyment. Bound by 100 ties of hope, materialistic of course, given over to lust and wrath, they strive to secure by unjust means hordes of wealth for sensual enjoyment. Okay, so that was verse number 12. Now moving on to verse number 13. Idamadhyamaya labdham imam prapsye manoratham idamastidamapi me bhavishyati punardhanam idamadhyamaya labdham imam prapsye manoratham idamastidamapi me bhavishyati punardhanam. One more time, verse number 13, chanting. Idamadhyamaya labdham imam prapsye manoratham idamasti idamastidapi me bhavishyati punardhanam idamadya maya labdham imam prapsye manoratham idamastidamapi me bhavishyati punardhanam. Verse number 13 meaning, this has been gained by me today, this desire I shall obtain, this is mine, and this wealth also shall be mine in future. Means an immense sense of possessiveness without thinking of the idea or without having the wisdom of the idea. Everything is temporary anyways. When our soul leave this mortal body, just like we leave a worn torn cloth and take up new clothes, the soul will also leave this body and take up another body mind system based on our karma. We, these asuric people, they don't think that way. They think everything is fine for my enjoyment, I possess to this, and so I have the sole right to all that I hold. I will just keep on holding for my sensual gratification. So 13, moving on to 14, verse number. असौ मया हतः शत्रुः हनिष्ये चापरानपि ईश्वरोऽहमहं भोगी सिद्धोऽहं बलवान् सुखी असौ मया हतः शत्रुः हनिष्ये चापरानपि ईश्वरोऽहमहं भोगी सिद्धोऽहं बलवान् सुखी. One more time. असौ मया हतः शत्रुः हनिष्ये चापरानपि ईश्वरोऽहमहं भोगी सिद्धोऽहं बलवान् सुखी. Meaning of verse 14, that that enemy has been slain by me, and others also shall I slay. I am the Lord, I enjoy, I am successful, powerful, and happy. Basically saying that being bound by the ideas of me, mine, I am the doer, I am the possessor, and all of that. Okay, rajasika qualities, tamasika qualities, you can think of in terms of the gunas. Okay, so moving on, verse number 15. आढ्योऽभिजनवानस्मि कोऽन्योऽस्ति सदृशो मया यक्ष्ये दास्यामि मोदिष्य इत्यज्ञानविमोहिताः आढ्योऽभिजनवानस्मि कोऽन्योऽस्ति सदृशो मया यक्ष्ये दास्यामि modishye. Modishye followed by an e, it becomes modishya. The ikar lope happens. So if you break it after that first part of the second line, it becomes yakshye dasyami modishye ityajnana vimohitaah आढ्योऽभिजनवानस्मि कोऽन्योऽस्ति सदृशो मया यक्ष्ये दास्यामि मोदिष्ये इत्यज्ञानविमोहिताः. What does it mean? Verse number 15. I am rich and well born. Who else is equal to me? I will sacrifice, I will give, I will rejoice. Thus deluded by ignorance. Then it continues to the next verse. I will pause here a little bit. I will just mention that. Look at this. You might think, I will sacrifice, I will give, and I will rejoice. So, sacrificing, giving is not a bad thing. So, why is Bhagavan talking about these being an asuric qualities? Because whenever we are giving, sacrificing, and we are even doing dana, the danas, by definition, by definition, the dana, it has the quality of, the dana, it has the quality of non-boasting. It should be given from a space of not accepting, not asking for anything in return. So that is the inherent quality of dana. But here look, Here the Asuric people, they say, I am rich and well born. Who else is equal to me? मेरे जैसा कौन है? I will sacrifice, मैं दान करूंगा, ध्यान करूंगा. I will give, I will rejoice, मैं मौज करूंगा. Thus deluded by ignorance, it continues to the next verse, verse 16. अनेक चित्त विभ्रांताः मोहजाल समावृताः प्रसक्ताः कामभोगेषु पतन्ति नरकेषु च. अनेक चित्त विभ्रांताः मोहजाल समावृताः प्रसक्ताः कामभोगेषु पतन्ति नरकेषु च. अनेक चित्त विभ्रांताः मोहजाल समावृताः प्रसक्ताः कामभोगेषु पतन्ति नरकेषु च. Verse number 16, what does it mean? Bewildered by many a fancy, covered by the meshes of delusion, moha, addicted to the gratification of lust, they fall down into a foul hell. Hell, in the sense, it's a cycle from which it's very difficult to come out. Okay, it's a place where it's very difficult to get out. It's a place of bondage, suffocation, limitation, all of that you can think. Not literally a place called hell in that regard, as per se. Okay, so bewildered by many a fancy, bewildered by many a fancy, covered by the meshes of delusion, means being deluded, addicted to the gratification of lust, they fall down into a foul hell. Now, number 17. आत्मसम्भावितास्तब्धाः धनमानमदान्विताः यजन्ते नाम यज्ञैस्ते दम्भेन विधिपूर्वकम्. आत्मसम्भावितास्तब्धाः धनमानमदान्विताः यजन्ते नाम यज्ञैस्ते दम्भेन विधिपूर्वकम्. Now this was verse number 17. Okay, so what does it mean? Self-conceited, haughty, filled with the pride and intoxication of wealth, material wealth. They perform sacrifices in name out of ostentation. Ostentation means to show off. Disregarding ordinance. Disregarding ordinance means how it has been prescribed in the scriptures. What are the qualities of dana and all of that. Disregarding all of that, they want to perform good deeds, quote unquote. Okay. So moving forward, Bhagavan continues. Ahankaram balandarpam kamam krodhan cha sangshritaah mamatma paraheshu pradvishantobhyasuyakaah. Ahankaram balandarpam kamam krodhan cha sangshritaah मामात्म परदेहेषु प्रद्वेषन्तोऽभ्यसूयकाः. Possessed of egoism, power, insolence, lust, and wrath, these malignant people hate me. Bhagavan is saying hate me means the higher self within each one of us, the pure consciousness. In their own bodies and those of others, they disregard the presence of the divine within themselves, of course, and also within others. Okay, moving forward to the 19th verse now. Tanahan dveshatak kruran संसारेषु नराधमान् क्षिपाम्यजस्रमशुभान् आसुरेष्वेव योनिषु तानहं द्विषतः क्रूरान् संसारेषु नराधमान् क्षिपाम्यजस्रमशुभान् आसुरेष्वेव योनिषु. One more time. तानहं द्विषतः क्रूरान् संसारेषु नराधमान् क्षिपाम्यजस्रमशुभान् आसुरेष्वेव योनिषु. What does it mean, the 19th verse? These malicious and cruel evildoers, most degraded of men, I hurl perpetually into the wombs of asuras only in these worlds. So basically, they are born into the Asuric families. That's what Bhagavan is saying. You see? So, as you know, that where we are born into is not what we decide, right? Where we take birth. So Bhagavan is saying that whoever has been having these qualities in their lifetimes, based on their karmic bondages, Bhagavan sets them into the yonis, the wombs of the Asura people only. So number 20. Asurinyonimapannaha मूढ़ा जन्मनि जन्मनि माम प्राप्यैव कौन्तेय ततो यान्त्यधमां गतिम् आसुरीयोनिमापन्नाः मूढ़ा जन्मनि जन्मनि माम प्राप्यैव कौन्तेय ततो यान्त्यधमां गतिम् आसुरीयोनिमापन्नाः मूढ़ा जन्मनि जन्मनि माम प्राप्यैव कौन्तेय ततो यान्त्यधमां गतिम्. Verse number 20. What does it mean? Obtaining the Asuric wombs and deluded birth after birth, not attaining to me, they thus fall, O son of Kunti, Kaunteya, son of Kunti, here in this case Arjuna is being referred to as Kaunteya, into a still lower condition, obtaining the Asuric wombs and deluded birth after birth, not attaining unto me, Bhagavan is saying, they thus fall, O son of Kunti, into a still lower condition. So it's like a spiraling downward path. Okay. Moving forward, 21. Trividhannarakasyedam dvarannashanamaatmanah kamak krodhastatha lobhah tasmadetattrayantyajet. त्रिविधन्नरकस्येदं द्वारन्नाशनमात्मनः कामः क्रोधस्तथा लोभः तस्मादेतत्त्रयं त्यजेत्. Verse number 21 meaning is triple is the gate of hell. Well, again, hell is a significance of a state of being which is having all Asurika qualities, as we just discussed. So I just want to mention that do not think of it as a place literally. It's a state of being where there is nothing expanding, everything is suffocating. So Bhagavan is saying there are triple gateways to this hell, destructive of the self. What are these? Lust, anger, and greed. Kama, krodha, tatha lobha. Right? So therefore, one should forsake these three: kama, krodha, and lobha. Because if we think about this in a little deeper way, we will see that every kind of suffering that one may have in our lives, the genesis of those sufferings come from these three kind of gateways: lust, anger, and greed. If we just sit quietly for a second, and if we try to understand what are the sufferings we have been through so far or we are going through right now, if we think about them for a bit, we will see that somehow or the other we can connect those sufferings with these three gateways. It started from there. So, verse number 22. So, guys, only three verses left. Let's complete this with a full attention of mind. Verse number 22. एतैर्विमुक्तः कौन्तेय तमोद्वारैस्त्रिभिर्नरः आचरत्यात्मनः श्रेयः ततो याति परां गतिम् एतैर्विमुक्तः कौन्तेय तमोद्वारैस्त्रिभिर्नरः आचरत्यात्मनः श्रेयः ततो याति परां गतिम्. Meaning is verse number 22. The man who has got beyond these three gates of darkness. What are the three gates again? Reminding ourselves: Kama, Krodha, and Lobha. Last, practices what is good for himself, the goal supreme, which is attaining the truest nature of our being, right? Attaining the pure consciousness state, to that, getting connected, getting closer to that state which is free of suffering. If one just gets rid of these three gateways towards the asuric state: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, lust, anger, and greed. Now, the last two verses. Verse number 23. यशास्त्रविधिमुत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिमवाप्नोति न सुखं न परां गतिम्. यशास्त्रविधिमुत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिमवाप्नोति न सुखं न परां गतिम्. यशास्त्रविधिमुत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिमवाप्नोति न सुखं न परां गतिम्. He who, settling aside the ordinance of the Shastra, acts under the impulse of desire, attains not to perfection, nor happiness, nor the goal supreme. In fact, as a matter of fact, they don't even understand that there exists a purpose, a goal of every mortal being taking up this body mind system after so many lakhs of births, hundreds of thousands of births. So, the very last verse, verse number 24, is Tasmat Shastram Pramanante Karya Vyavasthitau Jnatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartumiharhase. Tasmat Shastram Pramanante Karya Vyavasthitau Jnatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartumiharhase. One more time, since this is the very last verse of chapter 16, verse number 24. Tasmat Shastram Pramanante Karya Vyavasthitau Jnatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartumiharhasi. Meaning is the last verse. So let the Shastra be thy authority in ascertaining what ought to be done and what ought not to be done. Having known what is said in the ordinance of the Shastra, thou shouldst act here. Here means in this world, in this material world. So, of course, there are these gateways to Asuric state. Of course, we are all subjected to these Asurika states, the qualities that lead one to the Asuric state. But Bhagavan first lists the qualities. Where does it all start from? And all of that, Bhagavan makes us aware of what are the gateways, what does it all start from. And then also talks about the qualities at the beginning of Daiva state, means the divine state, and allows us to choose. Every time Bhagavan does not mentions us, this is what you should do. He just mentioned to Arjuna what happens following what path. And at the end, as you will see in the upcoming chapters, in very last, Bhagavan just mentions, now I have mentioned you to you in all these previous discussion, that what leads to what path. Now you decide what you want to do. I leave it on to you. Jathe tatha kuru. Jathe tatha kuru. You do whatever you wish. So we always have an option to choose. It comes from our state of awareness where we are, in terms of deciding what is Shreya, what is Preya. Preya means what we want, Shreya means what is conducive for us and for the greater good. There is a difference. What not always what we want is what is good for us. So anyway, having the power of discrimination, the viveka and all of that, this will only strengthening that viveka will only allow us to go towards the path of daiva qualities and help us proceed towards the marga, towards the path of our supreme goal of understanding who are we. So with that, we will wrap up this chapter 16, Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, by chanting this last part, which is after every chapter we chant Om Tatsaditi Shrimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Daivasura Sampadvibhaga Yogo Nama Shorashodhyayaha. Thus finishes with Om Tat Sat. We finish the Upanishad, Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the Brahman in Yoga Shastra, the discourse between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, the name of the chapter 16, the chapter 16 which is named as Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. Thus we conclude this chapter. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in this live session. I will post this recording in my channel. Please take a look if you have missed any part, or if you would like to revisit the discussion and the chants. And like I promised, for the lyrics aspect of it, please do not worry. In the description below, I will post the links to at least one or two online resources which I find authentic, so that you can go there and find the lyrics of the shlokas and the transliterations, and in many other languages. And as you know, Shrimad Bhagavad Gita is widely popular across the whole planet, and it's translated in many languages, also written in many languages. So the lyrics of this. I'm glad that you were part of this chanting and who joined in. I bow to you for being a part of this discussion, Daiva Sura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, and I look forward to meet you in another session, either chanting of Vedic chanting or the Shrimad Bhagavad Gita very soon. Please do post your likes if you have come this far and if you are enjoying these sessions, because this helps me to have YouTube spread this video to many more viewers, so that this knowledge can be spread with others. And if you have loved this discussion, please post in the comment which part you like the most, and if you have any questions, also feel free to use the comment section to let me know. I will try to get back to you as soon as possible and to answer your questions, and to the best of my capabilities and my knowledge. And of course, do feel free to share this video with your loved and dear ones, so that everybody becomes a part of this divine knowledge of my immense value and significance. Because yoga, Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, is one of the root texts, authoritative texts on yoga, which is often known as the handbook of skillful living, navigating through our lives. It has helped me a lot. It is helping me a lot continuously as I move in my life and learn more and more in my life. And I'm sure that you will also find many answers of your questions as you delve deep into this timeless wisdom text, root text of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. Thank you. Thus we conclude 16th chapter of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, Daiva Asura Sampad Vibhag Yog. Hari Om Tat Sat.